The oak-paneled law office fell silent as Mr. Davidson adjusted his reading glasses, preparing to read Dad's will. My 3 siblings, James, Victoria, and Marcus, sat smugly in their leather chairs, already mentally spending their inheritance. To my children, Mr. Davidson began, I leave my legacy. I knew what was coming. Had known since Dad cut me out 5 years ago when I refused to join the family business empire, Kingston Industries. Instead, I'd taken my economics degree and disappeared into the world of private equity, building my own fortune under a different name. To James Kingston, my firstborn, I leave my controlling stake in Kingston Technologies. James smirked. The tech division was worth billions. To Victoria Kingston, my daughter who understood business, I leave Kingston Real Estate Holdings. Victoria straightened her Chanel jacket, already planning new developments. To Marcus Kingston, my youngest son, I leave Kingston International Trading. Marcus nodded, satisfied with his piece of the empire. And to Catherine Kingston. My siblings turned, some probably remembering I existed for the first time in years. I leave my sincere hope that she will one day understand the importance of family legacy. That was it. No shares. No assets. Not even Dad's vintage car collection I'd helped restore as a teenager. Well, James stood straightening his tie, that's settled then. Sorry, Kat. Maybe if you hadn't abandoned the family. I remained seated as they gathered their inheritance documents, already discussing expansion plans and merger opportunities. None of them noticed my slight smile or the way I checked my phone's stock alerts. What they didn't know was that while they'd been running Dad's companies into the ground, I'd been quietly building Shadow Peak Capital into one of the most powerful private equity firms in the country. Under my assumed name, Elena Shaw, I controlled more assets than Kingston Industries had at its peak. Miss Kingston. Mr. Davidson called as I turned to leave. A moment. I waited until my siblings had left, already arguing about who would get Dad's corner office. Your father left this for you. He handed me an envelope. To be opened after the will reading. Inside was a single photograph, teenage me and Dad in his garage, working on his first Ferrari. On the back, his handwriting. Sometimes the best legacy isn't the one you're given, but the one you build yourself. My phone buzzed. A message from my CFO. Kingston Industries stock down 40% since opening. Their lenders are calling in debts. Your orders. I smiled, thinking of my siblings' smug faces. They had no idea that their inherited companies were teetering on the edge of bankruptcy, crushed by debt and mismanagement. No idea that their only hope for survival was an injection of capital from Shadow Peak. My capital. Miss Kingston. Mr. Davidson interrupted my thoughts. I couldn't help but notice you seem unconcerned about the will. Tell me, Mr. Davidson, I turned to him, how closely do you follow the financial markets? Enough to know Kingston Industries is in trouble, he admitted. Your siblings, they may have inherited companies they can't save. Indeed. I checked my phone again. Kingston Technologies stock had dropped another 5% in the last hour. And how familiar are you with Shadow Peak Capital? His eyes widened. The mysterious Elena Shaw's company? They're the only firm with enough liquid capital to save Kingston Industries, but she never shows her face in public. Nobody even knows who she really. He stopped, staring at me as realization dawned. Sometimes, I quoted Dad's note, the best legacy is the one you build yourself. You're Elena Shaw, he whispered. The very same. I gathered my things. And in about 3 hours, my siblings are going to discover that their inherited empire needs a savior. And will you save them? I paused at the door. That depends on how they ask. And how much they're willing to give up to survive. Walking out of the law office, I passed the framed newspaper article about Dad's business empire. Next to it would soon hang a different headline. Shadow Peak Capital acquires Kingston Industries in historic takeover. My phone buzzed again, James this time. Kat, I know we haven't talked, but something's wrong with the companies. All of them. We need to meet. I typed back. Sorry, busy building my own legacy. Try Elena Shaw at Shadow Peak Capital. I hear she might be interested in family businesses. Sometimes the best revenge isn't getting what you're owed. It's making them beg you to take it all. The next morning, I sat in Shadow Peak Capital's executive suite, watching financial news coverage of Kingston Industries' impending collapse. The empire my siblings had inherited less than 24 hours ago was crumbling faster than anyone expected, anyone except me. Miss Shaw, my assistant Rebecca entered using my professional name. Your siblings are in the lobby. All three of them. I switched my monitor to the lobby security feed. There they were, James pacing nervously, Victoria clutching her designer bag like a lifeline, and Marcus slumped in a chair, his usual arrogance replaced by desperation. How long have they been waiting? 2 hours. James has called Elena Shaw's office 12 times. They don't know you're her, of course. I smiled, remembering all the family dinners they'd excluded me from, all the times they'd mocked my decision to abandon the family business. Make them wait another hour. My phone lit up with messages. James, Cat please. If you know how to reach Elena Shaw, we need help. Victoria, little sister, remember when I let you borrow my car in college? Time to return the favor. Marcus, whatever grudge you're holding, drop it. We're family. Family. The word they only remembered when they needed something. Pull up the latest numbers, I instructed Rebecca. The wall screens filled with data. Kingston Technologies down 60%. Real estate holdings facing $2 billion in callable loans. International trading hemorrhaging clients. Everything my father built, destroyed by the children he thought would preserve his legacy. Your father's lawyer called, Rebecca reported. Mr. Davidson. He wants to know if Elena Shaw has made a decision about the Kingston acquisition. Tell him she's meeting with some very desperate executives today. I stood, smoothing my black Armani suit. Have security bring my siblings to conference room A. The small one, not the executive suite. And their files. I picked up 3 thick folders, detailed reports of every mistake, every mismanagement, every arrogant decision that had brought their companies to this point. Oh, I've been preparing these for years. The conference room's glass walls offered a perfect view of the city skyline, including the Kingston Industries building where James had taken Dad's office. By tomorrow there might be a different name on that building. They're on their way up, Rebecca announced. Should I tell them Elena Shaw will be joining shortly? No, I smiled, watching their reflection approach in the glass. Let them sweat a little longer. The door opened. 3 sets of footsteps entered, followed by the sound of expensive leather meeting cheap conference room chairs, a deliberate choice on my part. Catherine. James's voice cracked with surprise. What are you doing here? I turned slowly, enjoying their confusion. Waiting for you, obviously. We're here to meet Elena Shaw, Victoria snapped. This is a private meeting about family business. Business you wanted no part of, remember? Oh, I remember everything, Victoria. I sat at the head of the table, Dad's old position. Every snide comment, every excluded invitation, every time you called my choices a betrayal of family legacy. Listen, Marcus leaned forward. Whatever issues you have, they can wait. We need to meet Elena Shaw. Kingston Industries is failing. I opened the first folder. Let's see. Kingston Technologies under James's leadership. Stock down 60%. 3 failed product launches. Top developers quitting. Quite a first day as CEO, brother. How do you know? Victoria's real estate holdings, I continued, opening the second folder. Over-leveraged, overvalued, and under investigation by the SEC. Did you really think nobody would notice the inflated appraisals? Victoria's face went pale. And Marcus, I opened the final folder. International Trading's books are so cooked they could start a culinary school. Who the hell do you think you are? James stood, trying to reclaim some authority. Me. I pressed a button on the conference phone. Rebecca, please tell my siblings who they're meeting with. Yes, Miss Shaw. Will there be anything else? The room went deadly quiet. You're... Victoria whispered. Elena Shaw? I smiled. Owner of Shadow Peak Capital? The only person with enough resources to save Kingston Industries from bankruptcy? Yes, that's me. Impossible, Marcus shook his head. You're Catherine. The one who ran away. Ran away. I laughed. I built something bigger than Dad ever dreamed of. While you were playing with his companies, I was building an empire that could buy and sell Kingston Industries 10 times over. I stood, walking to the window. Would you like to know your company's current market value? Combined. I pointed to a number on one of the screens. That's what you inherited yesterday. They stared at the figure in horror. And this, I pointed to a much larger number, is what Shadow Peak Capital made in the same time period. Under my leadership. Why? James swallowed hard. Why didn't you tell us? Tell you. I turned back to them. Like you told me about Dad's cancer? Or Victoria's wedding? Or the family Christmas parties I wasn't invited to? We can explain, Victoria started, but I held up my hand. Save your explanations. Right now, you need to understand your situation. I pressed another button and the wall screens filled with real-time market data. In approximately 4 hours when the market closes, Kingston Industries will likely face margin calls on billions in loans. By tomorrow morning, your creditors will demand immediate repayment. We know, James said quietly. That's why we need Elena Shaw. To help. Help. I picked up a stack of documents from my briefcase. You mean like family helps family? Marcus leaned forward. Whatever you want, name it. Money, shares, positions. Oh, I don't want your table scraps, Marcus. I laid out 3 contracts. I want everything. Everything. Victoria's voice rose an octave. Shadow Peak Capital will acquire all Kingston Industries subsidiaries. You'll step down from your positions, surrender your voting rights, and relinquish any claim to the companies Dad built. That's insane. James slammed his fist on the table. We're his children. And I'm not. I clicked another button. Security footage played on the screens, years of family events I'd been excluded from, captured by cameras in the Kingston buildings. Funny how I only count as family when you need something. My phone buzzed. Mr. Davidson, Kingston stock in freefall. Board demanding emergency meeting. You have exactly 1 hour to decide, I continued. Sign these contracts or watch Dad's legacy collapse completely. This is revenge, isn't it? Victoria accused. For the will. I laughed. The will. Victoria, I made more money last quarter than Dad left all of you combined. This isn't revenge, it's business. Business. Marcus scoffed. You're destroying our family over business? No, brother. You destroyed the family. I'm simply buying what's left. Rebecca's voice came through the intercom. Ms. Shaw, CNBC is requesting a statement about Kingston Industries. They're running a special report, The Fall of an Empire. Perfect timing. I turned back to my siblings. Shall I tell them Kingston Industries is declaring bankruptcy? Or that Shadow Peak Capital is stepping in to save the day? James picked up one of the contracts, hands shaking. If we sign these, what happens to us? You'll receive consulting positions. Small offices, minimal responsibilities. Like the jobs you thought I deserved. And the Kingston name? Victoria asked. Will be replaced by Shaw Industries. I smiled. Dad always said legacy was everything. He just backed the wrong child to preserve it. Marcus started reading his contract, then stopped. Wait. These are dated 3 years ago. Very observant. I pulled up more documents. I've been preparing for this day since I started Shadow Peak. Every bad decision you made, every arrogant mistake, every weakness in your companies, I documented it all. You planned this. Victoria whispered. Like Dad taught us, always think 10 steps ahead. I checked my watch. 50 minutes until market close. Tick-tock. James stood suddenly. I won't sign. This is our birthright. Birthright. I pressed another button. Their personal bank accounts appeared on screen, all dangerously overdrawn. You've been using company funds for personal expenses for years. The SEC would be very interested in that. Victoria gasped. You wouldn't. Try me. 45 minutes. My phone buzzed again, breaking news alerts. Kingston Industries faces collapse. Mystery buyer circling fallen empire. Shaw Capital set to acquire Kingston assets. The business world is watching, I noted. Your reputations, your futures, your precious legacy, all hanging by a thread. And only your excluded sister can save you. Marcus broke first, reaching for a pen. We don't have a choice. There's always a choice, I corrected. Just like you chose to exclude me all those years. One by one they signed. James laughed, tears of rage in his eyes. Rebecca, I called, please show my siblings to their new offices. Basement level, I believe. As they stood to leave, broken and humiliated, I held up the photo Dad had left me, us working on that Ferrari. He taught us both legacies, you know. You learned to inherit one. I learned to build one. This isn't over, James threatened weakly. Actually, it is. I pressed one final button. The Kingston Industries logo on their building began to change, transforming into Shaw Industries. I believe those are your personal items being moved to the basement. They watched in silence as their world crumbled literally and figuratively. Oh, and one more thing, I called as they trudged out. Don't forget about the family dinner this Sunday. I'd hate to have to exclude anyone. After they left, Rebecca entered with champagne. Congratulations, Miss Shaw. Or should I say Miss Kingston? No, I smiled, watching my name light up the skyline. Shaw is just fine. After all. I picked up Dad's photo one last time, thinking of his words. Sometimes the best legacy isn't the one you're given, but the one you build yourself. I built this legacy all on my own. 1 month later, I sat in Dad's old office, now mine, reviewing the changes at Shaw Industries. The company's stock had tripled, the toxic assets were cleared, and a new era had begun. My phone buzzed with a text from Victoria. Quarterly reports done. Waiting for your review. Then James, new tech proposal ready for your approval. And Marcus, international division restructuring plan on your desk. How quickly the mighty fall from arrogant heirs to basement-dwelling employees. Mr. Davidson visited that morning, carrying a final envelope from Dad. He told me to give this to you when you were ready. I think now's the time. Inside was another photo. Dad standing in front of Kingston Industries on its opening day. On the back he'd written, "To Catherine, who proved me wrong in the best possible way. You didn't abandon the legacy, you made it stronger. I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner. Love, Dad." I placed the photo next to my nameplate. Catherine Shaw, CO. Sometimes the best revenge isn't taking what's yours. It's building something so much bigger that they have to work for you to stay relevant. Rebecca, I called, schedule a family dinner. Here in the executive dining room. All of them, she asked. Yes, I smiled, watching my siblings through the security cameras, working diligently in their basement offices. After all, family is everything. Dad taught us that. And I taught them something too. Sometimes the black sheep comes back to run the flock.